Have you ever looked at your life and truly desired a profound transformation, but then felt completely daunted by, the sheer scale of it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you imagine it would take years, maybe even decades, to really shift your trajectory.
Yeah, that's a really common feeling, isn't it? That sense that big change is this slow, glacial process.
We've all been there, I think. That feeling of a huge mountain to climb, a journey so long, it just feels overwhelming before you even take that first crucial step.
Right. And it often leads straight to inaction, doesn't it? You just think, oh, that's too big, and nothing happens.
Exactly. But today we're diving into something that, well, it really challenges that whole idea.
Precisely. Today we're taking a deep dive into a concept that directly confronts that very assumption. It suggests that true, unstoppable transformation isn't some distant, abstract dream reserved for, a mythical future,
Mm,
but something remarkably achievable in a surprisingly short time frame. Just 6 months.
6 months.
It's just 6 months. It's an idea that honestly might initially feel almost audacious, perhaps even a little unrealistic when you first hear it,
It does sound pretty bold.
because it just flies in the face of so much conventional wisdom about personal growth,
Yeah.
about how long change is supposed to take.
Absolutely. And it's captivating because of that audacity, isn't it? We've been given some truly thought-provoking insights from a source titled 6 Months to Unstoppable Transformation. And this material, it doesn't just nudge you, it fundamentally makes you rethink what's genuinely possible in your own life.
It really does.
So our mission today is to thoroughly unpack this bold idea. We want to see what it truly means to commit to such a rapid transformation,
Right.
to understand the how behind making your entire life look unrecognizable in half a year, and maybe explore if this speed of change is, truly sustainable for most people.
And we're not just going to skim the surface here. We'll be extracting the core nuggets of wisdom from this source, uncovering the surprising facts that challenge our default thinking, and hopefully providing you with practical, actionable takeaways. These aren't just theoretical concepts. These are insights that could genuinely shift your entire perspective on personal progress.
Like a shortcut, almost.
In a way, yeah, a shortcut to being well-informed about accelerating significant life changes. Get ready for some genuine aha moments, because what we're about to explore really cuts through a lot of the common excuses and that conventional thinking that often holds us back from our deepest aspirations. It's
Right.
big, powerful stuff.
Okay, let's really lean into this radical idea then, because wow, it directly challenges so many of our ingrained beliefs about change.
It really does.
The source makes this incredibly bold assertion right at the start that only 6 months or 180 days of intentional focus are truly needed for life-altering transformation.
180 days.
Yeah, I mean, think about that for a second. It's not a nebulous someday. It's not when things calm down or after I retire.
Right, none of that vague future stuff.
It's a specific finite window. How does this immediately confront what most of us have been, well, kind of taught or just absorbed over time?
Well, that's the crux of it, isn't it? What's fascinating here is how this central premise directly challenges what the source calls our conditioned beliefs.
Conditioned beliefs.
Yeah. Most people, it argues, are conditioned to think transformation takes decades, or, that it's only for a chosen few with special talents or privileges.
Oh, I've definitely heard that one before. The idea that you need to be special.
Exactly. And this isn't just a casual observation in the source. It's presented as an exposure of a fundamental societal myth. A myth that often keeps us comfortable, maybe, but ultimately stagnant.
Comfortable but stuck.
We're consistently fed these narratives that suggest big change requires an almost saintly level of patience or some exceptional, almost superhuman innate ability.
Right, like you were born with it or you weren't.
Precisely. And this narrative, while maybe it feels comforting because it lowers the bar, it effectively disempowers the average individual. It suggests radical change is an exception, not a rule, and certainly not an accessible path for everyone. And this conditioning, the source implies, isn't accidental. It's often a byproduct of cultural inertia, our own comfort zones.
Yeah, definitely comfort zones.
And let's be honest, a subtle rationalization for just not doing the hard work, for inaction.
And it creates a sort of mental block, doesn't it? If you think the finish line is decades away, it's just so easy to procrastinate or never even start.
Completely. Why start a marathon today if you think you can barely jog a mile?
Right. But the material we're looking at, it directly refutes this. It states, and this is the direct quote, Your entire life can look unrecognizable in half a year if you decide to give it everything you've got.
Everything you've got. That's the kicker.
It is, and that's such a powerful counterargument to what's often a deeply ingrained societal belief and, frankly, sometimes a convenient personal excuse, too.
Oh, for sure.
It's suggesting that the perceived difficulty and the time commitment, maybe they're often self-imposed limitations rather than, objective truths about how change actually works.
It absolutely does suggest that. And this brings us to a really crucial psychological barrier. The difference between that long-term kind of open-ended thinking versus the power of a finite, intensely focused period.
Okay, tell me more about that difference.
Well, if you tell someone, hey, you need to commit to this change for the next 10, 20 years, the brain often just responds with overwhelm, right?
Totally. Shuts down.
Yeah, leading to inaction because the finish line seems impossibly far away. The mental energy needed just to sustain that vision without much immediate feedback. It's enormous.
You just can't keep it up.
The brain defaults to, okay, I'll start later, or maybe even, you know what, I'm just not capable of that kind of sustained multi-year effort.
Right. But 6 months, that feels different.
Exactly. When you frame it as 6 months, it transforms. It goes from being this insurmountable odyssey to a challenging, yes, but crucially achievable sprint.
Achievable. I like that. Still hard, but doable.
Precisely. This finite timeline creates an intrinsic urgency that simply doesn't exist with an open-ended multi-year commitment. It forces an intensity of focus.
Okay.
It pushes individuals to really concentrate their efforts because they can actually see the end in sight. It's more like a focused project, rather than some vague life philosophy.
Like a boot camp for your life.
Kind of. It makes the commitment feel more manageable and, paradoxically, maybe more impactful because of that intensity. It taps into our ability to focus really acutely when there's a clear deadline.
And this isn't some magic potion or just like wishful thinking we're talking about, right? The source is really clear about the ingredients.
Oh, remarkably clear. No magic involved.
It explicitly states that this 6-month commitment demands 6 months of discipline.
Discipline.
6 months of clarity.
Crucial.
And this is a big one. 6 months of cutting out the distractions that don't serve you and replacing them with habits that push you forward.
That replacement part is key. Not just cutting out, but actively adding in.
It sounds like a complete re-engineering of your daily life, like an active, intentional engagement, rather than just passively hoping things get better.
That's exactly what it is.
An all-in approach that requires a pretty profound level of intentionality.
Indeed. The emphasis is entirely on active, intentional engagement and proactive design of your days, your environment.
Designing your life, literally.
Yeah. It's about creating an environment and daily routines that are completely aligned with your goals, rather than just reacting to whatever life throws at you or letting external forces dictate your progress.
Which is what happens most of the time, I think.
Sadly, yes. This isn't about wishing. It's about doing and doing with precision. And that clarity component you mentioned, it's particularly vital here.
Why clarity specifically?
Because vague aspirations, I want to be happier, I want to be healthier, they rarely, if ever, translate into concrete, measurable actions.
Right, they're too fuzzy.
Exactly. You need to know with absolute certainty what specific behaviors, habits, influences you are intentionally cutting out, whether that's mindless scrolling, unhealthy food, negative people, and what powerful forward-moving habits you are meticulously building in. Like, what exactly are you doing instead?
So it forces you to get really specific.
Totally. And this level of intentionality, it creates this positive feedback loop. The clearer your actions, the clearer your results tend to be, which then fuels more clarity and more discipline. It builds on itself.
It's hard to argue with that logic. Okay, now let's consider the potential. The source talks about what can actually change. Think about that for a moment. The sheer breadth of these potential changes in just 180 days.
It's pretty staggering when you lay it out.
The source highlights some truly significant shifts, saying things like, your body can completely transform.
Wow.
Your finances can shift in ways you never imagined.
Okay.
Your mindset can evolve into something sharp, disciplined, and nearly unshakable.
Unshakable mindset.
Yeah.
That's huge.
It is. It's not just about one isolated area like getting fit.
Yeah.
It's describing a holistic overhaul. Imagine moving from feeling, stuck and frustrated to clear and unstoppable in half a year.
That's a massive leap.
That's not just incremental improvement. That's a radical before and after scenario. And it touches on every major pillar of a fulfilling life, body, finances, mindset.
And what's truly fascinating here, and I think often overlooked, is the profound interconnectedness of these areas.
How so?
Well, a disciplined mindset that you cultivate in one domain, let's say, achieving real consistency in your fitness routine,
Okay.
that often doesn't just stay confined there.
Yeah.
That same internal muscle for discipline, for delaying gratification, for showing up even when you really don't feel like it.
Yeah, the doing it anyway muscle.
Exactly. That muscle can then be seamlessly applied to your financial planning, your career goals, even how you handle difficult conversations and relationships. The brain, in essence, learns a new mode of operation.
So it's like leveling up your core operating system, not just running one new app better.
That's a great analogy. You're not just improving individual aspects of your life in silos, you're developing a fundamental capacity for self-mastery. And that capacity acts as a powerful lever, impacting your entire existence.
Wow.
This is where many listeners might have that aha moment, realizing that transformation in one area isn't isolated. It can act as this potent catalyst, creating a domino effect for holistic, systemic change across their entire life.
So fixing your fitness could actually help fix your finances indirectly.
It absolutely could, by building that underlying discipline and confidence. It's about building a better you, not just better outcomes in specific separate boxes.
Okay, that's a really powerful idea, and here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a little sobering. Time isn't waiting for us to decide, is it?
Not at all.
The clock is ticking for everyone,
Yeah.
whether you commit to this transformation or you just let the 6 months slide by.
Yep.
The source drives this home with a pretty stark truth about the relentless march of time. It says, the question is never whether 6 months will pass. It hammers home that time doesn't care about excuses. It doesn't pause for your comfort. It keeps moving with or without you. It's just this undeniable, indifferent reality.
And that framing is such a profound insight into the psychology of time and our relationship with it. Most of us, I think, tend to think of time as something we find or make for our goals.
Right. I need to find the time.
Exactly, implying it's this flexible resource at our disposal, something we can somehow control or hoard. But the source powerfully reframes it as a finite, constantly moving entity. It exists independently of our choices, our desires, our comfort level.
So it just flows no matter what.
It just flows. And this subtle shift in perspective, it's incredibly empowering, actually, because it shifts the locus of control entirely to the individual's decisions within that immutable flow.
So it puts the ball squarely back in your court.
Completely. The decisive question then becomes, as the source states, the question is what you will do with it.
Right. What will you do with those 6 months?
It forces you to confront the reality that you are always making a choice about how to spend your finite moments, even if that choice is inaction, even if it's just letting things drift.
And that inaction over a period like 6 months obviously has its own profound consequences, often regrettable ones.
Exactly. It's a call to agency, really, making you accountable not just for what you actively build, but also for what you passively let pass by.
That's a powerful framing. Okay, but if this kind of rapid, profound transformation is truly possible in just 6 months, why don't more people do it? Why do so few people actually experience it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And our source goes deep into what it identifies as the silent saboteurs, these insidious forces that prevent most people from seizing these incredible 6-month opportunities.
Right, the things that quietly derail us. And the first major pitfall, according to our source, is what it calls the trap of casual effort and lack of intensity.
Casual effort.
It highlights that most people will never experience that transformation. Why?
Well,
Because they treat their goals casually. They might start with excitement but lack intensity.
excitement, but no intensity. What's the difference there, really?
It's a critical distinction that many overlook. Motivation or excitement is that initial spark, right? That burst of energy that gets you off the starting block.
Yeah, the New Year's resolution feeling.
Exactly. But intensity, that's sustained, focused, non-negotiable effort. That's what sustains the race and actually ensures you reach the finish line. Casual effort often comes from a misunderstanding of how real change happens.
Thinking it should be easy, maybe?
Perhaps. Or just underestimating the required focus. It's not a gentle drift towards your goal. The source argues it's a deliberate, sustained push.
It's a bit like trying to build a roaring fire with just like a single match.
Good analogy.
And then giving up when it doesn't instantly blaze, isn't it? You might have the initial spark, a flash of inspiration, but without consistent, focused effort gathering the kindling, fanning the flames, it just fizzles out.
Perfectly put. And the source paints a vivid picture of the slippery slope that follows this casual approach. They let one missed day become two missed days become a week, and before they know it, the opportunity is gone.
Ugh, I know that feeling.
It's those tiny, seemingly insignificant lapses that
Yeah.
accumulate, right? They create this massive gap over time between where you are and where you wanted to be.
And you often don't even notice it happening until it's too late.
Exactly. And you've hit on a crucial point there. Casual effort fundamentally undermines the compound effect.
Which is the engine of rapid transformation you said earlier.
It absolutely is.
Mm.
When you approach your goals with low intensity, or you allow frequent lapses, you just don't build the necessary momentum. Each missed day or half-hearted attempt doesn't just represent a lost opportunity.
Mm.
It actively creates a deficit, a mental and physical gap that just becomes harder and harder to overcome. And this erosion of consistency, it ultimately leads to a loss of belief in your own capacity.
So you start thinking, see, I knew I couldn't do it.
Precisely. Which leads to abandonment. Intensity, on the other hand, ensures that each action contributes significantly to the cumulative impact. You're stacking those small wins day after day to create unstoppable progress.
Okay, so without sustained intensity, even the best intentions just remain.
Intentions, yeah.
Yeah.
Never translating into tangible results.
Then we get to killer #1, and this one. Wow, it feels incredibly relevant, almost inescapable in our modern world. Distraction.
Oh, yeah. Big one.
The source doesn't pull any punches here. It calls distraction the modern scourge and states our world is filled with it scrolling, entertainment, gossip, noise. It's just an ever-present hum, isn't it? Constantly pulling at us.
It absolutely is. And the problem with distraction isn't merely the time it steals, although that's significant. It's the cognitive load it places on our brains.
Cognitive load. Unpack that a bit.
Sure. Think of it as the total amount of mental effort being used in your working memory at any given time. Constant interruptions, even brief ones like a notification ping or quick check of social media, they fragment our focus.
They break your concentration.
Exactly. Each shift in attention requires your brain to stop, recontextualize, re-engage with the new thing, and then try to reallocate resources back to the original task. This constant task switching, it prevents us from engaging in the deep, concentrated work required for meaningful transformation.
Deep work, right?
When our attention is consistently pulled in multiple directions, we're simply unable to build the sustained, concentrated mental energy needed to tackle complex problems, to strategize effectively, or even just to embed new habits deeply into our routine.
It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it, you said.
Yeah, a lot of effort going in, but very little actually accumulating because it keeps leaking out through these distractions.
And it's so insidious because we often don't even realize how much time it consumes. Think about how many times you've picked up your phone just for a second.
Oh, the classic, just for a second.
And suddenly an hour has vanished. Poof, gone. That's the deceptive nature of this time sink. The source also brilliantly points out the illusion of busyness, saying, people tell themselves they are busy, but busy is not the same as productive. Ouch. Running in circles is not the same as progress.
That's a hard truth, isn't it? But so important.
It really is. That distinction between busy and productive is absolutely key to understanding intentionality and its role in transformation.
Couldn't agree more. Being busy often means just reacting to external stimuli, right? Constantly checking off tasks from an endless, often trivial to-do list without a real strategic purpose.
Hello.
Allowing your day to be dictated by others' demands or by whatever pops up.
Yeah, fighting fires instead of building something.
Exactly. Productive, however, implies focused, deliberate action towards a clearly defined, high-value outcome. An outcome that actually moves you closer to your 6-month goal.
Okay.
Distraction keeps us perpetually busy, creating this flurry of activity, but it rarely translates into genuine productivity. It effectively steals those precious 6 months of potential transformation.
So it's the difference between doing a lot and doing what matters most.
Perfectly said. Without intentionality, busyness becomes this really sophisticated form of procrastination, just masquerading as progress.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So if distraction is constantly pulling us off course and fragmenting our efforts, what happens when we do manage to dedicate time, but we just can't sustain it?
Ah, well that, our source suggests, brings us directly to the second major saboteur, inconsistency.
Inconsistency, the arch nemesis of habit formation.
Pretty much. The material notes that most people start strong, they go hard for a week or two, but when it gets hard, they break. That initial burst of motivation is powerful, we talked about that, but it's often incredibly fleeting, isn't it?
It really is. The novelty wears off fast.
And it highlights a very common human tendency. We often confuse that initial enthusiasm with sustainable commitment. When the novelty wears off, or when the inevitable challenges, discomfort, or even just boredom arise, because transformation will be hard and sometimes boring.
Yeah, not always exciting.
The lack of a deeper, cultivated discipline leads to a collapse in effort. And the source points out a critical difference here, which is truly profound. They miss one day, and instead of recommitting, they spiral back into old
A
habits.
spiral. Yeah.
And then it says, the problem isn't failure. Failure happens to everyone. The problem is that people don't recommit when they fall.
Wow. Okay, pause on that. The problem isn't failure, it's the failure to recommit.
Exactly. It reframes everything.
Yeah.
It's not about avoiding mistakes or having bad days. It's entirely about your response to them.
So what this truly means for us is that falling isn't the issue, staying down is. That's a game changer of a perspective, isn't it?
It really is.
And the consequences of not recommitting are huge because, as the source says, inconsistency creates gaps, and gaps destroy momentum. And once momentum is gone, belief is gone.
Ugh, that's such a devastating chain reaction. It just snowballs out of control so quickly.
It sounds like it. Can you explain that spiral psychologically? Why is it so dangerous?
Well, psychologically, this spiraling effect is incredibly dangerous because it's self-reinforcing. A single lapse or maybe a series of inconsistent actions can easily be misinterpreted by our inner critic
Ah, the inner critic.
as undeniable proof of our inherent inability to achieve the goal. See? I told you so. Rather than seeing it for what it is, just a minor temporary setback.
Right. We take it as evidence that we're flawed.
Exactly. And this erosion of self-belief then serves as a powerful justification for further inconsistency, creating this vicious downward cycle. Why bother trying if I'm just going to fail again?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
The mindset of recommitment, on the other hand, treats each new day as a completely fresh opportunity, a chance to reset, to learn from whatever happened yesterday, and to explicitly choose to get back on track.
Choosing again, every day.
Every day, sometimes every hour. It transforms failure into simply feedback. It's data, an opportunity to adjust your approach and move forward. And this ability to recommit, it's perhaps the single most important skill for anyone pursuing sustained effort and radical transformation.
Because it bridges those gaps.
It bridges those gaps before they destroy your momentum and, critically, before they completely erode your belief in yourself.
This really hits home for so many people, I think, because underlying a lot of this inconsistency maybe is the final point here, the power of excuses.
Ah, yes. Excuse.
How many of us have found ourselves saying these exact phrases, the sourceless common ones like, I'm too tired, I had too much going on, it wasn't the right time. They sound so familiar, don't they? So reasonable sometimes.
They do, and that's precisely their power. Excuses, at their core, they serve as psychological defense mechanisms.
Protecting ourselves.
Yeah, protecting our ego in the short term. They allow us to avoid the discomfort or the perceived failure, or maybe just the sheer effort of acknowledging our own role in our inaction.
It feels better in the moment to have a good reason.
It does, but this immediate, albeit fleeting, validation comes at a monumental long-term cost, as the source unequivocally states. And those excuses feel valid in the moment, but over time they cost everything.
Everything.
They are the invisible chains that perpetuate what the source calls the perpetual cycle. The cycle that keep people stuck year after year, never realizing they've wasted dozens of 6-month opportunities.
Dozens. Thinking about it like that is kind of horrifying.
It is, and overcoming this requires a fundamental refusal to negotiate with these self-imposed limitations. It's a conscious choice to accept responsibility for your current state, rather than allowing external factors or internal feelings to dictate your progress. To break free, you have to first refuse to allow any justification for inaction to take root in your mind.
Okay, so we've laid bare the pitfalls, the casual effort, the distraction, the inconsistency, the excuses. We understand why so many people miss out on this potential. But the crucial question remains, how do we actually do this?
Right, the how-to.
How do we forge that future and make this 6 months to unstoppable transformation a reality for ourselves? The source is very clear, laying out 3 powerful pillars. Let's start with pillar 1, radical responsibility.
Yeah, and this is perhaps the most fundamental pillar. Honestly, it might be the most challenging shift in mindset for many, yet paradoxically, it's also the most liberating.
Liberating.
How so? The source asserts, with undeniable force, that when you accept radical responsibility, everything changes. It's about a complete reorientation of your perspective. Moving from being a passive recipient of circumstances
Letting life happen to you.
to being an active architect of your life. And defining radical responsibility means you proactively stop waiting for perfect conditions.
Right.
Because they'll never come.
Right. There's always something.
You actively stop blaming the past, other people, or circumstances. You absolutely stop outsourcing your power, which is a subtle but really pervasive habit, blaming things outside yourself.
Blaming the boss, the economy, whatever.
And most importantly, you fully accept that your life is the sum of your decisions. Every single choice, every action, every inaction you take contributes to where you are right now.
That sounds, yeah, that sounds like a heavy burden at first, taking on full responsibility for everything.
It can feel that way initially.
But as you said, the source identifies it as freedom. It's like moving from being a passive passenger in your own life to actively taking the wheel. Even if the road ahead is incredibly bumpy and uncertain,
Exactly.
the material acknowledges this, saying, that might sound heavy, but it's actually freedom. Because if it's your fault, then you also have the power to fix it. That's the profound paradox, isn't it? Releasing blame, taking ownership. That's what truly empowers you.
It is. The profound liberation that comes with owning your choices entirely is often unexpected. Think about it. If your current situation, your challenges, your lack of progress are primarily a result of your decisions, and this framework argues they are, then you, and only you, are the one with the real agency to alter those decisions and change the outcome.
So it puts the power back in your hands.
Completely. This mindset fundamentally changes your relationship with challenges and setbacks. They no longer appear as these insurmountable external forces controlling you.
Like victims of circumstance.
Right? Instead, they become solvable problems
Yeah.
that you have the internal power, the capacity to address. And with this level of radical responsibility, the source says excuses lose their power. They just sound hollow.
Because you're not looking for them anymore.
Exactly. You stop needing external validation.
Yeah.
Because your internal compass, your commitment is all you need. You stop waiting for motivation, understanding it's fickle and unreliable.
Yeah.
You don't need someone else to remind you of your goals because they're etched into your soul, as the source puts it poetically.
I like that. Etched into your soul.
It leads to this state where you simply wake up and take action, not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are becoming. Action becomes identity.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge mindset shift. Radical responsibility, pillar one.
Foundational.
But that makes so much sense. It's not enough to just vaguely want something. You need a blueprint, right? A precise map to navigate this 6-month journey.
Absolutely.
Which brings us neatly to pillar two, clarity and structure. The source emphasizes that passion alone won't carry you for 6 months. You need precision. You need a clear target. I think many of us rely way too much on that initial spark of passion or motivation.
We really do. And this is such a critical distinction because passion, while it's an excellent initiator, right, certainly important for generating that initial excitement,
It gets you started.
it's often completely insufficient for sustaining difficult, prolonged effort over 180 days. Passion can wane, but a clear target, a precise goal, that provides direction and purpose even when your enthusiasm flags.
Keeps you pointed north.
Exactly. And the source powerfully highlights the problem with vague goals, stating flatly, vague goals create vague results.
Makes sense. Fuzzy input, fuzzy output.
Precisely. To illustrate this, consider the common aspiration. I want to get in shape, okay? What's that actually mean?
Right, can mean anything. Walk more, eat less sugar, run a marathon.
Exactly. Our material contrasts this with a specific goal. I will lose 20 pounds by clean eating and training consistently by the end of 6 months. Or another example,
Yeah.
I want to be successful. Super vague.
Totally vague.
Versus, I will build a side business that earns $10,000 a month within 6 months. See the difference?
Night and day. Those examples make it incredibly clear. The specificity is what creates a discernible path, a direct route you can actually follow.
Yes. Clarity creates power, as the source says.
But it's not just about knowing what you want. It's critically about how you'll get there. All right. The source stresses the need for a plan, saying big visions without structure are fantasies. That's a harsh truth, but an important one. Fantasies don't get results.
It's blunt, but true. And neurologically, psychologically, the benefits of specific goal setting are immense and well documented. When goals are vague, the brain struggles. Can't easily form a clear action plan.
Leads to overwhelm.
Leading to decision fatigue, mental overwhelm, and procrastination. The brain just doesn't know where to focus its energy. But specific goals, they engage the brain's planning circuits much more effectively.
Tells your brain exactly what to do.
Right. Makes it easier to identify the necessary steps, to allocate resources efficiently, and, crucially, to measure your progress along the way, which is why the source advises Break the dream into steps. Break the steps into daily habits.
Chunk it down, way down.
Exactly. This process of deconstruction translates large, seemingly intimidating aspirations like unstoppable transformation into actionable, manageable daily tasks. Things you can actually do today.
Makes it less scary.
Way less scary. And this ensures daily intentionality, where you literally wake up every day knowing exactly what matters most and attack it with purpose. And this systematic, consistent approach, that is precisely how progress compounds.
Okay.
Not through random bursts of energy, the source emphasizes, but through intentional, structured effort, stacked daily. It removes the guesswork and replaces it with a deliberate compounding strategy.
Structure and clarity.
Got it. Okay, that resonates deeply with me, because how often do we let our mood, our fleeting feelings, dictate our actions?
Well, constantly. It's human nature.
Which is where pillar 3, discipline over emotion, comes in. And the source, again, doesn't pull its punches here, saying this is where most people lose. They live by how they feel.
Yeah, that line cuts deep, doesn't it? It's such a profound observation about the fundamental struggle of human behavior when pursuing long-term goals.
Why are feelings such bad guides here?
Well, the source states it unequivocally. Feelings are liars. Feelings change with the weather. If you live by emotion, you will always be inconsistent.
Feelings are liars.
No.
Think about it. Our emotions are notoriously fleeting, unreliable, and highly reactive to immediate circumstances: what we ate, how we slept, what someone said to us. They make incredibly poor guides for the sustained, often arduous effort required for significant 6-month transformation.
So relying on motivation, which is an emotion.
It's like building your house on sand, as the saying goes.
Yeah.
It's just not stable enough for the long haul.
So true. Motivation comes and goes, often like a burst of sunshine on an otherwise cloudy day, right?
No.
Disappears.
Exactly. But discipline. Discipline is presented as fundamentally different. The source's definition is stark and powerful. Discipline says, I'll do it anyway.
I'll do it anyway, regardless of feeling.
Regardless. It's about showing up and executing your plan, no matter how you feel at any given moment.
So how do you cultivate that? It sounds hard.
It is hard initially, but this is where discipline transforms from just an abstract concept into a practical muscle, a muscle that literally strengthens with consistent use.
Like lifting weights for your willpower.
Precisely. Discipline shows up when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's painful. It represents a non-negotiable commitment to your predetermined plan, irrespective of your internal emotional state or any external distractions.
Non-negotiable. That's a key word.
It is. The source makes it crystal clear. Discipline doesn't negotiate. It doesn't ask, do I feel like it today? It says the plan is the plan and I will execute. Full stop.
No wiggle room.
No wiggle room. And this consistent choice, choosing discipline over your emotional whims, day after day, it builds an incredibly robust internal locus of control. It strengthens your self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to do hard things.
It builds self-respect too, right?
Immensely. Every single time you make that choice, actively overriding your transient feelings, you build self-respect. You prove to yourself that you can be trusted. You learn that your commitments to yourself actually mean something.
That's powerful, proving it to yourself.
And that internal trust, that undeniable proof of your capability, that becomes the bedrock of genuine confidence. And that confidence, in turn, generates unstoppable momentum. And that momentum, that becomes the very engine of transformation.
Wow. So it's a chain reaction starting with that daily choice.
It's a powerful chain reaction.
Yeah.
And this is such a crucial why it matters point for anyone listening. It underlines that radical transformation is less about innate talent or being constantly inspired, and far, far more about cultivating this profound self-mastery through consistent, disciplined action.
Okay, so if we're truly adopting radical responsibility, forging those clear plans with structure, and consistently applying discipline over emotion, what does this all mean for the actual process of change over those 6 months?
Well, it fundamentally shifts how change happens.
It means the daily grind, right? The small, seemingly insignificant choices, getting up early, making the healthy meal, doing the work instead of scrolling, those are actually the bedrock of monumental change.
Yeah.
We're talking about the compound effect and unstoppable momentum.
Exactly. The source really highlights how every day builds on the one before. Every small decision becomes a brick in the foundation of your new life.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. This is the absolute mathematical and psychological brilliance of the compound effect applied directly to personal growth. Those marginal gains, those seemingly small, almost imperceptible improvements or choices.
Yeah, the 1% better idea.
Right. When accumulated consistently over a focused period like 6 months, they don't just add up linearly, they multiply. They compound exponentially. The real power isn't in some single heroic act one weekend,
No magic bullet.
but in the relentless daily accumulation of those small disciplined actions. And the source powerfully emphasizes you don't need perfection, you don't need to always feel inspired, you just need to be consistent.
That's actually really freeing, isn't it? Takes the pressure off being perfect.
It absolutely is. It liberates us from the tyranny of needing to be flawless or perpetually motivated, which is possible anyway. It's about relentless execution, as the source calls it.
Relentless execution. Sounds intense.
It is intense in its consistency, day after day showing up, executing the plan, and refusing to quit. And this focused, consistent effort, the source unequivocally states, will do more for your life than 6 years of wishful thinking.
6 years of wishful thinking compared to 6 months of focused effort. That's a stark comparison.
It really is, because wishful thinking lacks the active daily ingredient, that persistent intentional action that creates the profound accelerating force of the compound effect. It's the difference between merely hoping for rain and diligently digging a well day after day.
That clarity between wishing and doing is so important. Okay, but let's be real, and the source acknowledges this isn't some easy path. It will get tough.
Oh, absolutely. Make no mistake about that.
But that difficulty, it's presented almost as the beauty of it, not a deterrent. This isn't about trying to avoid challenges.
No, quite the opposite.
It's about embracing them as an integral, essential part of the process. Because, as the source puts it, 6 months of showing up through difficulty creates a version of you that no longer negotiates with weakness.
That's powerful. Creates a version of you that no longer negotiates with weakness.
That's the true alchemy of difficulty, isn't it? Turning the hard stuff into something valuable.
Absolutely. Resilience and mental fortitude. They aren't just traits you're either born with or not. They are powerful byproducts, forged in the fire of sustained effort and perseverance through adversity.
You earn them.
You earn them. The discomfort, the struggle, the moments of doubt and pain, they are not barriers to be avoided. They are, in fact, the very crucible in which a stronger, more capable, and ultimately more formidable version of yourself is created.
So the struggle itself changes you.
Profoundly. This process isn't solely about achieving the external goals, losing the weight, earning the money, building the business. It's just as much, if not more, about an internal metamorphosis.
Becoming someone different.
Becoming someone different. Becoming a more resolute, disciplined, and genuinely unstoppable person. The internal transformation, the development of that unwavering character, that's often as significant, maybe even more so, than the external results that manifest. It's about building an inner fortress that can withstand future challenges long after these 6 months are over.
Okay, so this isn't some slow, gradual crawl towards your goals then, if you're doing it right.
Not necessarily, no.
This sounds more like building a head of steam, creating a powerful, self-sustaining momentum that can actually rocket you forward at speeds you might not have thought possible beforehand.
That's a great way to put it.
The source explains this dynamic beautifully as the speed of results when committed. It says, momentum begins to build, habits shift, energy increases, clarity returns. It describes this upward spiral, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And this links directly back to that psychological concept of self-efficacy we touched on, your belief in your own ability to succeed.
Right. How does that fuel the speed?
Well, as you start to see those small wins, those daily habits executed consistently, those mini milestones achieved along the way, those wins provide tangible, irrefutable proof of your progress and competence.
You see it working.
You see it working. This builds a powerful sense of internal confidence. And as the source says, that confidence fuels you to keep going even when it's tough, because you now have concrete evidence that your efforts actually yield results. It's not just faith anymore, it's fact.
That makes sense. Success breeds success.
Exactly. It creates this virtuous upward spiral of positive reinforcement. Disciplined action leads to small wins, which boost your confidence, which in turn fuels more focused, more intense action. And when you commit at this truly radical level of intensity and consistency, the source assures us results show up faster than you think possible.
Faster than you think possible.
Because you're no longer just passively working toward the goal, you're operating from a place of growing belief, undeniable proof, and this powerful self-generating momentum that actively propels you forward. It becomes almost self-sustaining after a point. Hashtag tag, tag, tag outro.
Wow. Okay, we've explored a truly powerful and frankly paradigm-shifting concept today. This idea that in just 6 months, half a year, you can genuinely transform your entire life.
It really challenges our timelines, doesn't it?
It really does. And importantly, this isn't with casual effort or just waiting for fleeting inspiration, but with intense, focused, and pretty much non-negotiable commitment.
The all-in approach.
We've dissected the core premise, the astonishing speed of potential change when you apply these principles, and the absolute necessity of intentionality over just letting time pass. It really makes you question what you thought you knew about personal growth, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And we've meticulously examined those silent killers of transformation, the insidious forces of distraction and inconsistency that trip so many people up,
Yeah, the saboteurs.
while simultaneously illuminating the robust pillars of success. That radical responsibility, unwavering clarity married with concrete structure, and the indispensable power of discipline over transient emotion.
The 3 pillars.
What's profoundly fascinating here is that the blueprint for this level of change is surprisingly clear when you break it down. And the required elements, discipline, clarity, responsibility, they're accessible to anyone willing to cultivate them.
It's not about inherent talent, then.
Not primarily, no. The source material provides this stark, undeniable truth about the immense power you hold to meticulously shape your next half year. It doesn't just challenge us to look beyond the long-term, often overwhelming narrative.
Right.
It demands that we consider a finite, intense period, these 6 months, as potentially the ultimate crucible for rapid and profound personal evolution.
The source material leaves us with a truly profound question, doesn't it? A stark choice, really, about those inevitable 6 months that are coming for all of us, starting right now, basically.
Yeah, the clock's already ticking on the next 6.
It asks, the question is, will you waste them like most people do, or will you use them to build the life you've always wanted? Oof. That's a powerful call to action, a moment of reckoning that makes you really consider how you're choosing to live right now and what future you're actively constructing day by day, or perhaps passively allowing to just unfold without intention.
And building on that, this raises an important and deeply personal question for you, our listener, to maybe sit with after this. Given that the next 6 months will pass regardless of your choices,
Yeah, time keeps moving.
what specific, immediate action, however small it might seem, however daunting it might feel, could you take today, right now, to unequivocally declare your commitment and begin laying that very first foundational brick in your new life?
Just one brick. What's the first brick?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a monumental leap on day one, but the source argues it absolutely does need to be intentional, a conscious first step.
A fantastic closing thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into what it truly takes to make your next 6 months your most transformative yet.
It's been fascinating to explore.
We sincerely hope these insights empower and maybe inspire you to claim your own unstoppable transformation starting today.